But now we're talking UFC with our guy, Animarak, representing Phoenix, Arizona by way of Minnesota. Animarak in the house. How are you doing on this Thursday afternoon?
Doing pretty great, Jimmy. Good to be back. I felt naked last week without talking to you guys, and then I missed out on the trip. Everyone hanging out in Florida. That looked like a hell of a lot of fun. I got to get there next time.
Yeah, we weren't messing around. We weren't messing around. It was like I mean, I could say the best week of my life. Like, there's no week that's popping up where I'm like, what about that week? Like, it was absolutely incredible, and we wish you were there, Animarak. How did you hammer UFC last week? Was there UFC last week? Yep. Was there?
So there was no UFC last week, and that's why we missed out, actually. It worked pretty well with everyone going out of town. We didn't have to worry about breaking a card down.
Beautiful. Well, set the stage for us with UFC this Saturday. Where are we?
We are headed to Shenzhen, China. It is China's richest city, home of the fourth tallest building in the world. They actually have a park where they've got their own miniature Great Wall of China. And believe it or not, it's literally on the other side of the planet. It is 6:30 a.m. over there right now.
Okay, 6:33. So what is your expectation from are there going to be Chinese judges? Do you think there's going to be any tomfoolery from the judges?
You got to be a little concerned about that. The UFC is trying to break into the Chinese market. There's definitely going to be a hometown advantage here. You've got to wonder about the big money walking around there in Shenzhen. You never know what's going to happen. But I try not to jump at shadows as far as people being bought off in MMA fights or anything like that. I'd be more concerned with the time difference. This fight starts at 3 a.m. for us because of the time change. So fighters moving over to China are going to have to adjust to that. They're going to be completely flipping their sleep schedules, getting up way earlier, really in the middle of the night, to go out for a fight, which is not something they're going to be used to.
Well, let's get started and take a look at this card. We're going to start with Mark De La Rosa versus Kai Kara France. Mark De La Rosa opening at plus 165. Some money coming in Kara France. Mark De La Rosa now at plus 170. What's your look here?
This is my live dog on the night here, Jimmy. I am going to roll with Mark De La Rosa. A lot of people are high on Kai Kara France because of the gym he trains out of and some of the people that he works with. He's fast, he's light on his feet, and he's got good hands. He's not that bad, but he's not that great either. He hasn't shown me anything at the UFC level that really impresses me. On the regional scene, he put a good little run together to get into the UFC, but since then, I haven't seen him take that next step up in competition. Mark De La Rosa, on the other hand, is a legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a high-level submission artist. He's really good in scrambles, and he's got really good back takes. One of the things in Kai Kara France's fights is that it always ends up being a little scrambly, and I think that Mark De La Rosa is going to find an opportunity to hit that switch, hit the back, and lock up a rear naked choke. We're getting a nice price on him, and the biggest thing I like about this is that he's actually moving down a weight class to run into Kai Kara France. He's going to be the bigger, stronger fighter in there, and he is taking his strength and conditioning program seriously for the first time in his career. I expect him to look a whole lot better, a whole lot stronger, and if he gets his hands on Kai Kara, it's over.
Wow, there we go. Getting it all started with a dog. Mark De La Rosa. Animarak got him at plus 165, but he is available at plus 170. Available at plus 170. All right, let's talk about a big fight. The fight. Weili Zhang, Jessica Andrade. Zhang opening up at plus 160. There's been a 10-cent move towards her. Weili Zhang's now at plus 150. Animarak, Zhang, Andrade.
This is the main event of the evening, Jimmy, and this is going to be a spectacular fight. I remember not too long ago, people used to complain about mixed martial arts. Oh, the 155ers, the lightweights, they can't knock anybody out. Those fights are boring. Well, these are 115-pound women. And the champion, Jessica Andrade, just stole the belt by lifting Rose Namajunas over her head and slamming her on her neck so hard, I thought she was dead. Times have changed. Jessica Andrade is a complete monster. Weili Zhang is the UFC's flagship fighter headed to China, and that's the reason she is in this spot. Don't get me wrong. She's a great fighter. She's impressive. She has got a solid future. But the UFC's hype machine is behind her so they can tap into this market. She's only had 3 fights in the UFC, and she's got a 100% takedown defense rating. That defense rate is suspect. She's only faced 5 takedowns in her entire UFC 3-fight career, and 3 of those came in one single fight. Not a single one of those 3 opponents has actually landed a takedown in their recent, I think, 3 or 4 fights. So that 100% takedown defense rating is incredibly suspect, going up against Jessica Andrade, who averages 3.2 takedowns per 15 minutes. She's landing over 1 takedown per round, and once she gets you on the mat, it's over. She's a complete animal. She's stronger than any other woman in that division. And I can guarantee you that Zhang has never felt the power that this girl holds. She should be a minus 300 favorite. We're seeing a lot of fan support here for Zhang, but I do not understand it. I think people are overlooking the dominant champion that she is, and what she did to the absolute elite of the division is something that Zhang is nowhere even close to achieving. It's going to take her a long time to catch up. I am all over Andrade in this position.
I like it. All over Andrade. Puck lately saying Jessica Fine. Please don't take us back. Please don't take us back to Jessica Fine. It's been nice not having her around. Jessica Andrade. So we have Mark De La Rosa plus 165, and we have Jessica Andrade at minus 180. And as always, you put together a parlay for us, and we love these parlays. Animarak, take it away.
I'm going to parlay Damir Ismagulov and Lizo Zaleski dos Santos. So what's going on here is Ismagulov is facing another young up-and-coming fighter in Thiago Moises. I'm actually really high on Thiago Moises. He's got a bright future, but he's only 24 years old. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and at this stage of the game, he's way too comfortable with his ground game. He gets taken down a lot, he gets put on his back a lot, and he really doesn't fight off those takedowns because he's confident once he gets on his back. The problem is in MMA, you get guys that are good enough at wrestling that are able to protect themselves, and they win rounds. On the feet, Thiago Moises does have some pop on his punches, but Damir Ismagulov is a better boxer. He's faster, he's crisper, he's got better movement. I think he is basically better everywhere this fight takes place. He's going to decide where it takes place as well because he's got an 80% takedown defense rating, and Thiago Moises doesn't have an offensive grappling game. The only way Moises gets this fight to the ground is if he jumps on a guillotine, and that puts him in a bad position, and I like that setup as well because you're not going to jump guillotine on a guy like Ismagulov. I think he wins this fight everywhere. So we're putting him in our parlay with Lizo Zaleski dos Santos. He's taking on Jing Liang, the Leech, who's a fan favorite hometown Chinese fighter. He's a fan favorite pretty much anywhere he goes because he is an absolute brawler. He goes ham on people, and he is really fun to watch. The only problem with him is he's very chinny, and he is hittable. He leaves his chin open for counters, and he's willing to give a punch to take a punch. So every time he takes that step up in competition, he steps just barely into the deeper end of that division. He gets cracked, and he gets cracked hard. Lizo Zaleski dos Santos is one of the most well-rounded fighters that division has to offer. I think he's going to be able to take him out anywhere this fight takes place. If it hits the mat, he's got scary fast submissions. He's explosive. If it stays on the feet, he can crack. And as we talked about, Lee gets hit and his chin is questionable. He's a minus 300 favorite, minus 280. We're going to pair him up with Ismagulov, who's around minus 185. We're going to get just better than even money on that parlay. And it's a 2-unit parlay, Jimmy. Since I started doing the 2-unit parlays, we have a 100% hit ratio, and I don't plan on that changing this weekend.
Jeez, there's the confidence I like to see. 100%. My God, that is a Ismagulov dos Santos parlay. 2-unit parlay. Hitting at a Hondo P. Our guy, Animarak's also on Mark De La Rosa and Jessica Andrade. I love it, Animarak. We love having you on these Thursdays. I know that you are on the star of the Die Hard MMA podcast. Could you tell us a little bit about that and where we can follow you on both your podcast and individually?
I am at Maximus in 3D on Twitter. I'm a complete geek and a nerd, so you're going to get all my video game and movie love over there. If you want to follow me personally, at Die Hard MMA Pod. If you just want my MMA and betting content, that's where you can find me. On the Die Hard MMA Podcast, I break down every single fight, top to bottom. We talk about current events. And actually, right after I hop off with you here, Jimmy, I've got Jillian Robertson, UFC fighter Jillian Robertson, calling in to do an interview with me today. So we're getting the ball rolling on some UFC fighter interviews as well over there on the podcast.
Beautiful. Nice work. Our guy, Animarak. Follow him at Maximus in 3D for his personal goods. Also, the Die Hard MMA podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, my man, Anamarak. Thank you so much, my guy.